We often take things for granted, especially when it comes to the autonomy of how a restaurant works. And if designing and running one of the busiest and biggest restaurants in the Bay Area isn't a big enough task for you to underestimate, imagine conceptualizing and running 16 of them. Maybe it would take someone with the business sense of a Wall Street banker, the mental fortitude of a Chinatown big boss, the connections of a million-miler doing deals from Shanghai to San Francisco, and someone who sees and jumps at opportunities to improve their industry on an artistic and systemic level. I am thrilled that life brought us to this juncture where that person has agreed to sit down with us on Upgrade Me. It is my pleasure to share with you my conversation with the restaurateur and business mastermind, Chef George Chen. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to hit the subscribe and the like buttons. Connect with us in the comments and wherever your favorite platforms are to stream audio and video. We also have a Patreon page, links in the description, where you can subscribe to and support and receive exclusive content and merch. You won't regret it. Mr. George Chen, what an honor it is to be here in the heart of Chinatown with one of the legends himself. Thank you for being here on Upgrade Me and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge.
Legend, huh? Where?
Exactly. He's sending a stunt double right now, right? So first question, we'll jump right in. Does any part of starting your 16th restaurant get any easier than the first?
Not this one. I mean, when I did this mega project, it's like go big or go home.
Right.
Yeah, and some of the other things I said, well, I'm already home, so I guess I'm not going anywhere. You know, some things get easier because you have a lot more experience, but this was a multiplex of a culinary platform and
without a doubt,
multiple restaurants, bars, event space, retail operation, marketplace. So there was a lot of components to pull off, and even with all my experience, I mean, it was touch and go sometimes. But some easier. I could laugh about it a little bit today now that we've kind of survived the pandemic, but it was not easy.
We'll talk about the culinary side of it first. Having gone through so many different venues and winning awards in various sectors of the culinary industry, what skills and what knowledge of ingredients transfers over as you continue to kind of spawn out and spin out new projects?
Well, I've been kind of a serial entrepreneur since forever, right? I mean, I worked on Wall Street for many years, and then I decided, that was just, Wall Street is a money game, get bigger clients or do a bigger deal, do a bigger trade. But, I want to do something a little more creative. So, and I've always loved the restaurant business. I've worked in it while growing up. My family was in diplomatic corps, so I saw a lot of food traveling.
Yeah.
And so I tended to gravitate towards, gravitate towards your talents. And so I ended up in the restaurant business, and people were like saying, well, man, you jumped from the frying pan to the fire.
Right.
In a way. And because the restaurant business, it's easy entry. Everybody can, my grandmother's got a recipe for meatballs. Let's open a restaurant, It may be the best meatball ever, but, that's not going to make a restaurant.
Exactly.
Because restaurants are like, ever-changing animal. Today's a zebra, tomorrow's a donkey. Hopefully it becomes a racehorse. I mean, you just never know, right? So,
I like that analogy.
There's a lot of variables. And so you learn through everything that you do. And hopefully you don't make the same mistakes. And I've certainly made enough of mine. But we're lucky to have China Live and, 8 tables, cold drinks, all here in this building.
So you've made it pretty clear in some of your other interviews that, unfortunately, like many other arts, the culinary arts is not a pure meritocracy, and that sometimes people without raw talent may get ahead for various reasons. Who do you and Cindy feel are up-and-coming chefs that are deserved of the praise for their pure technique from a culinary standpoint?
Well, Cindy and I travel the world. I was a judge. For the World's 50 Best. I resigned this past year after 5 years serving it. So we're qualified to, not only as a chef myself, but qualified having the experience that I've had for, I've been in this restaurant business since I was 16. So that's like almost 40, 50 years. I'm getting old.
Only if you feel
But so, I think what you see is when you travel a lot, you tend to recognize some skills and some talent, something innovative, some integrity, certainly soul, how you cook. Obviously the Michelin 3-star guys, the world's top 50 best, are already very accomplished, and you can always learn something from them and what they do. And then also you go to some small places, and for sometimes you find out, like in Shanghai, for example, when I was there for many, many years, before I even opened China Live 8 Tables, I had this idea in the back of my head that I want to do a farm to table, like what we have downstairs at the marketplace restaurant, and a fine dining component like 8 Tables, right? And so I was always looking for like talent, and I'm pretty good about finding talent and working with them. In Shanghai, I met 2-3 chefs that I've younger, that showed me that they were very much focused on, it wasn't just a job, that they really enjoyed the arts part of it, the culinary arts. I mean, being a chef, everybody can start off, chop onions like Julia Childs, chop a bunch of onions. And, because it's with the French system. And then you have to learn how to move and work in the kitchen. And then later on, the third stage, you learn about flavors and how you have flavor memory. You have to, like, if I taste something last week and you don't have, exact science, like 6 measures of that or 2 teaspoons of this, you have to be able to pick it because food changes, right?
Absolutely.
And then ultimately, when you can get creative, then you become a chef. So the difference between a cook and a chef is you really have to have that last component. And so what I look for is people who have that talent that is able to create after all that they learn. Now, it could be you could have worked in business 5 years or even 25 years, and talent shows up to the next step takes time. So
100%.
For me, I found a lot of my chefs that way. In Shanghai, I promoted people that I see that you got to have 2 things, right? And well, of course, integrity and good, honest people, but aptitude and attitude. You got to have the right attitude. You have aptitude means you're smart, you're cocky, whatever. But if you have the wrong attitude, I can't help you. I mean, you don't want to work hard, you're lazy. That's not going to work. So it's really a combination of both. And lucky for me, most all my restaurants, I'm able to control the kitchen because generally I write the menus, I create the dishes, and then I look for people to collaborate with in order to execute those visions. In terms of names, I don't want to give anybody names because somebody trying to hire them,
Exactly. But no, they're out there, and many of them are here.
They're definitely out there, and it's not just here, but everywhere.
Of course.
If you enjoy good food. Even if you have a simple plate of a noodle somewhere, and you're like, wow,
you'll learn a lot real quick.
That has some real soul integrity to it, and then you say, oh man, who's that young kid? And people, that's how we groom the next generation, right?
Absolutely.
To see where the talent will come next.
It's a fine line between science and almost like photographic memory of every sense. You mentioned, with music, it's the same thing. If you have the aptitude to be able to play a song while you're watching the paper, that's one thing. If you can make that kind of, soulful, make it your own piece, that's another step.
Mozart, he's a genius, right? I mean, it was 6 years old. He could come up with stuff. He could
step off the page.
Boom, right?
He could step out of the cookbook.
You see things other people don't.
100%.
Yeah, and cooking, maybe, we're not Mozart, but, it is intuitively, what things work together.
Exactly.
Because it's like a 3-dimensional world.
Or being able to deconstruct the DNA. You eat something, you instantly know what's in there, how much time.
Right. I've always had a very good palate. My friends used to say, "Man, how did you smell that?" Like one day, I walked into a house we were sharing in Berkeley.
Sure.
And I was going to Cal, and I said, "What's that smell? You guys squish a bug on the window or something?" And I went downstairs to my room, and I came back up, and they grabbed me and go, "We just squished a bug on the window."
Wow.
It wasn't even close to me. They were like across the room.
I like that.
This is your olfactories are the most sensitive organ that you have. I mean, this is danger, right? Yeah. Your eyes can see very, very well.
Limited.
But for us humans, this is the only, I have a neurobiology degree from Berkeley, so I actually know this physiologically, that your nose He's the only one that doesn't cross over ipsilateral, crosses over left brain, right brain. You notice the left side goes up to the left brain and it's a direct. Oh. So your olfactories are actually part of your brain.
Okay, so if you have to administer a drug to create creativity, then perhaps it might want to go up the left side.
I think a lot of people have done that in the music business.
Exactly. Gotcha. So my mom once made a statement which rang true to me to this day, but it also was very bittersweet. She said that when you turn 40 to the age 60, it will be your most productive years. You'll be young enough to have the wherewithal and the energy to do something, but you'll have the kind of age enough to be able to delegate and be respected, and you'll have the wisdom to make the right choices. Right. It was bittersweet because she was already past 60 when she was imparting this.
Well, I should get up and leave, though, right?
I don't know about that. My question, though, is, as a serial entrepreneur, how has the definition of working hard evolved for you?
Well, I think about that, age 40 to 60, Melvin Calvin was a Nobel Prize winning chemist, physicist.
Sure.
Kelvin, degrees, temperature.
Yep.
He was professor at Berkeley. He actually said, no, you don't actually become genius and do genius things until you're 40.
Right.
Now, obviously, there are a lot of geniuses have done things, prodigies have done stuff. But I think what he's talking about is learned genius. Like you could develop your own thoughts because you learn so much from whoever. I mean, some artists, I'm sure Picasso was pretty darn good when he was 20, right?
Oh, yeah. But also a late bloomer, actually.
Right? Yeah. And musicians, right? I mean,
Philip
most
Glass
of them are
in New York
singing
City.
Younger, yeah. But I think that period of productivity is critical. You have to always kind of be prepared. Some days, some years, you're just mired because, like when my mom passed away in '89, I had really, like Confucius said, you have 3 years of where you shouldn't do anything.
Yes.
Well, there was nothing I could do. I mean, I was just finishing my Wall Street career, and things were rough. And it didn't matter what you tried. That's heavy on your heart. And the Chinese always say, when that happens, you just lay low and they'll come back to you. And then there are years that that, and it's not necessarily 40 to 60, but I think generally it's 40 to 60, that you get 2-3 years, maybe 4 years of good productivity, right? Now, for me right now, I still feel very, very productive. I think my best years are still ahead of me.
Yeah, of course.
I've been through a few things. I got sick last year, not COVID, and I recovered. And so there's a lot of things, and you got to be able to see things clearly, and then to know that, sometimes life is like you take 2 steps forward and you get 1 step back, and then you take 2 steps forward. Well, some years that process is a little bit faster. Maybe you take 3 steps, and you got to take advantage of those opportunities, right?
Yes.
I mean, because a lot of fate and serendipity, things that happen to you can't predict. I mean, if we all knew what was going to happen, 5 minutes from now, probably wouldn't be sitting here, right? So, so I think you just got to be prepared, mentally, psychologically, even physically, emotionally,
mental chess,
to be able to excel when you have that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, definitely. Yeah. Especially, getting sick does put things in a greater perspective. Another advisor of ours had mentioned that if you think about life in terms of the number of summers you may have left or the number of Christmases you may have left, then you really start to think about, okay, how am I really going to spend this time?
Well, I remember thinking, man, when I was like 9 years old, or 8 years old, getting to 9 years old, seemed like it took forever, right?
It did.
And then actually when I got to 10, I was thinking, oh my God, I'm getting old. And I was kind of sad after a big birthday party my grandparents had threw me in Taiwan.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes it's because, when you're 10 years old, 1 year is like 10th of your life that you're, in proportion, that's 10%.
Absolutely.
When you're 50, 1 year is 1/50th of the time you've been around. So everything seems to go faster as you get older, which sucks, right?
Yeah.
Because, 365 days is 365 days. But so, you just learn. I don't know if I'm a kind of a go-getter guy,
I can see that. Yeah,
There's no idle.
Well, I'm kind of, I don't know, type A personality. I like to get things done, achievement oriented. So I think you just kind of always kind of go and do what pleases you. Also don't complicate your lives. Henry David Thoreau's, I love reading, when he retired Walden Pond and all this stuff, devil's in the details, but keep things simple. You can kind of layer your life with too much junk and fret over things that you don't need to. And be able to trust people around you to do a great job and make sure you create an organization. This is all. I'm sure you've interviewed lots of top business owners that understand how to lead and how to show example and make good management decisions. But for me, that's a larger part of. I'm obviously in the kitchen tonight. I'm nowhere in this because I'm trying to show off or something.
Just for Halloween.
I got 200 people for tonight in a special party. But I think you just have to be able to have the wherewithal to understand your surroundings at the time, and then make the best out of it.
I got you. Many of the world's most successful people have crucible moments that cause them to catapult into a reaction, so to speak, to their moments of extreme struggle. The boxing champion Mike Tyson said it best when he stated, "We don't want to go back to the place we came from. We've worked so hard to get out of there that if we go back, it looks like we've failed." In support of We Dine Together and BeyondDifferences.org, you tell the story of being embarrassed and ridiculed by other grade school kids when you were bringing a braised pork belly pickled mustard sandwich instead of a standard PBJ and bologna, etc.
That's a delicacy now.
Oh, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Talk about how now you've been able to turn that moment of embarrassment into a strength.
Well, it's funny. You've done some homework on stuff that I did. Beyond Differences, no one dines alone, no kid dines alone, is something that was personal to me. And when the organization came to me and I asked for my support, and I said, you know what, I've had that experience. I came here when I was 10 years old, Summer of Love, 1967, with a crew cut, not like yours. You look good, and shorts, and it was Summer of Love, right? And being called chink and all this other stuff, it's like, what the hell is that? And you realize he's insulting you, then you got to defend yourself, right?
Yep.
So in the schoolyard, I remember I had my first hamburger. We were going to LA, and my father had to fly into San Francisco, and we were staying at some motel, and had a hamburger with mustard and pickles. Man, I thought that was the most nasty tasting thing in the world. Mustard and pickles. Oh my God, to an Asian kid, that is like foul.
Right.
But now, hey, I want my mustard and pickles on my burger.
That's right.
And so we went to. There's a lot of cultural differences. So we went to LA, and everybody's like, you got brown bag your sandwich, and didn't think bologna tasted all that good, right? I still don't. I did have some mortadella in Italy. That was just the last trip. That was amazing.
Yes.
Now I know what real bologna should taste like.
Of course.
But my mom packed a sandwich in braised pork belly with megansai, pickled mustard green, and she said, no, everybody had Wonder Bread. Okay, well, just slap it in between two Wonder Bread and, wrap it up.
Yeah.
And you're having lunch with all the kids. They got their apple or the banana and their bologna sandwich, and you pulled this thing out, and they're like, what the hell is that you're eating? You didn't even know how to describe it, right? Now they're all going to fight for it, probably, right?
You put in a duck bun.
And they're like, oh, that's disgusting. Oh, yeah. They're like, oh, that's shit. And I'm like, oh, fuck,
But you've been able to turn that moment and turn it into a strength.
Yeah,
I think, as a philanthropist, but as a creative person.
Well, I think you realize there's prejudice. There still is a lot of prejudice. We're dealing with AAPI hate, which is completely ridiculous. Yeah. And I've been, I always believe that your diversity, your ethnic background is your strength. And I've always believed that. And when I went to Berkeley, that motto, excellence in diversity.
That's right.
And I think we all come from somewhere, and it makes the world a much richer place. And so for me, I never hid in a corner. Maybe that day I was like, okay, I'll go sit underneath the tree and eat my sandwich. But I didn't want that. Next day I was like, everybody wants to be like everybody else, right? Next day I was like, Mom, can I have a bologna sandwich? And you say you hate that stuff. Right. Well, I eat it, I eat it now, But you realize, your individualism.
Yes.
Who you are, what you do, And for what we do here is try to change that perception about Chinese food. People think it comes in a mystery, in a white box in a mystery brown sauce, and it's supposed to be cheap and big portions and unhealthy.
Right.
That's a lot of BS,
Sure.
And why should Chinese cuisine, one of the greatest cuisines in the world, be relegated to like this psychological? I mean, even Italian food and pizza and the checkerboard tablecloth is now, oh my God, haute cuisine, right? And Chinese food still right now lacks that recognition. We didn't get a Michelin star for 8 tables, and I know we're at least 1 if not 2 stars. We're not 3, but and so the West. Okay, it's a French publication, but the West still doesn't recognize our, especially in the West. I mean, in China, Hong Kong, they got some magazines or tires or whatever it is.
Even a 1-star Michelin, was it not a Xiaolongbao, but a dumpling house, right?
And where?
In Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's Tim Hoan. And they open outlets around the world now.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Tim Hoan is good. I don't disagree with them. We should get I went to Tim Hoan. It was fantastic. They expanded.
It's not as good. Expensive Michelin star restaurant in the world.
Well, there's one in Singapore now. An old lady in Chinatown making soy sauce chicken.
Okay.
And pretty darn good. But now everybody hates her because all these people come and the guy wants to raise their rent and blah, blah. It's a different set of problems. Nice problems to have. But I think you do things because you know it. It's not judged by what always other people. Now, if you're going to live your life wondering about how other people look at you and you don't have the confidence to present yourself, you're kind of screwed. I mean, because you can never be satisfied. I mean, even your own parents, right? I mean, it's not to make your dad proud and your mom proud. Of course I want to make them proud, right? Yeah. But you got to be your own person. It doesn't matter what you do. My mom used to say in Chinese, 样样出状元. I mean, every profession, you could be the best, very best of what it is, including if you want to collect trash, you can be the best trash collector, right?
I like that mentality.
And I always believed in that. So, for Asians, being the restaurant business wasn't a very glorious. I'm like, God, you're going to be a cook, a waiter, that sort of thing. But now, because they're celebrity chefs and so forth, we get a lot of notoriety. Like, oh yeah, people want to take a selfie with you. It's, don't ever go, oh yeah, I'm so fan. Don't get over yourself. Just know that you're in the hospitality business. Somebody recognizes you. Be graceful, and be kind. Because it doesn't matter who they are. They're in your place. You gotta do that. So I always have carried the same thing, when I have no restaurants and when I worked in restaurants, all those restaurants, I worked at 12 restaurants in LA, before I came up to Berkeley to go to school. And now I have 16 restaurants, and we're getting some recognition for what we're doing here. For
sure.
And a lot of people know, maybe change that perception and recognizing it through me, as a personality behind it. That's nice, but it's not what I want. That's not the reason I want to do this. I've been approached by many Food Network kind of shows. Like, you want to challenge Bobby Flay against? No, stop asking me. And I don't want to challenge that dude. Right. He did a show with me a long time. He didn't even show up. It was just like a fake show. But at Shanghai 1930.
Sure.
But for me, it's the work that you do and the long-term effects that you have in changing that perception.
Yeah.
I hope China Live and what we do here will be, for the little kids that they love my place. They come in here. Those are the people that are going to say, what, Chinese food is not what you think. It's good. It's good for you. It tastes good. And it brings people closer together. Food is like the cultural bond for many people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're delivering happiness. You're delivering artistry. There's a number of things that are not seen at the face level.
Absolutely. I mean, I was telling a story the other day to some friends, and I said, some of our biggest fans at China Live we're not a kids restaurant, okay? But kids love this place. And there was a couple with a son and daughter, and I said, hey, good to see you again. She goes, hey, it's my daughter's birthday today. And I said, oh, happy birthday. She goes, this is where she wanted to come. I said, well, thank you so much. She's the favorite restaurant. And then the parents say, hey, do you know what she wants for her birthday? I said, what? She goes, your chili bean sauce, because we sell our condiments, right? Yeah. I go, you want my chili bean sauce for your birthday? She goes, yes. And chef, can you sign the jar? I'm like, whoa, I've never signed a chili bean sauce jar before.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure. I brought one over, signed it, and I put a bunch of other stuff, like our duck hot popcorn and some other,
that's really sweet. Yeah.
chocolate fortune cookies and stuff for her.
Oh, nice.
And that's the next generation. Those are the people that perhaps need, like some are not, they're not even Chinese, right? They're
just
Caucasian,
local.
whatever race.
Yeah.
But that is going to make, look, 8-year-olds, they just like what they like, right? Kind of.
Sure.
And they're getting smarter and they're more connected and all that. But, that's the thing that I think is important. And I think a lot of the older, I have an old lady that owns a motel across the street.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably 102 this year.
Wow.
And she's coming here once every month. And coming here because she had her favorite items. Now, we're a little bit more expensive than your typical Chinatown place, or we use better ingredients, look at the place, right? And all that. And, everybody gets paid with, properly and all that. And she was coming and tasting. I said, how is it? She goes, very good, very good. It's like she knows what she likes. She doesn't mind paying. So the older generation, the younger generation, everybody. I think the biggest problem sometimes I have is those people are our own people, Asians, that can't get out of their own way, thinking, "Oh man, you're charging too much, man. I could get that for half the price down the street." Well, you know what? Maybe you can, and if that's what you enjoy, go for it. I know disparaging you, but don't be saying that keeping ourselves from presenting ourselves, right? I mean, like you want to be the model minority, but then you want to stay. Have other people perceive you as
refinement,
this cheap stuff,
right?
So I think a lot of times that bugs me more than anything. It's like, get a hold of yourself,
right? Right. I think the term you used in a recent interview is you don't want to see Chinese food being confined to being just a dog pile of food, which I thought was fantastic.
Well, that really was kind of off the cuff, and I think it was Chronicle or Eater National.
Exactly.
National
and
Eater.
It really kind of did explain a lot of
I was kind of pissed. It was like the day after the Michelin snub. And I'm like, there are over 50,000 Chinese restaurants in this country. Even like 100 years ago, there was like 50,000 Chinese restaurants across this country. It was the first ethnic food that everybody went and enjoyed, right? It was kind of exotic, but tasted good. And however adapted, the Chinese American food's fine. Good quality ingredients, flank steak, broccoli. I have no problem with broccoli beef. You cook it right, it's wonderful. Just don't put much cornstarch in it and all that stuff.
Right.
Great. But people have this perception that it's not elevated, right? And there's nothing wrong with Chinese American food. There's a big resurgence now of people trying to do that. A couple of famous chefs here locally have been trying to do that.
Yep.
But I think we have to kind of I call it the bamboo ceiling, It's not the glass thing. You can kind of see light through it, but you gotta change that perception because how they look at us sometimes in a lot of ways is through our food.
Right.
Right. And for me, that's been a mission. And, and we'll go keep on pushing.
So I like that, you've sort of held a position of saying that you are educating people in the culinary experience and through cultural, kind of handing down the cultural elements through time. And so after educating foodies on real Chinese cuisine in your landmark restaurants such as Beetle Nut, Xanadu, Shanghai 1930, and of course today with 8 Tables and China Live, what new foods are you excited, or are there still foods that you're still excited to put your stylistic culinary fingerprint upon?
Well, China is bigger than Europe.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, all the, Chinese, diaspora around the world.
Sure.
And Chinese food, I'm not trying to I don't like the word authentic because authentic to whom? Din Tai Fung is most famous for Xiaolongbao, but Nanshan, near between Shanghai and Nanjing, Nanshan is where they invented Xiaolongbao.
Right.
And so if you're going to do authentic Xiaolongbao, you're going to do the Din Tai Fung style, you're going to do the Nanshan style or whatever style, right? And so I think food has to be looked upon and cooked with integrity, a study of cultural relevance. Because Chinese food, going back to the Song Dynasty, we have restaurants with menus and people could order stuff 1,000 years ago. You know, Escoffier was only 300-400 years ago, and they're like crediting him with being the father of Culinary, right? And because they lay down recipes. Chinese have recipes well over 1,000 years ago, right? And so I think people don't understand the depths of, especially in the West. I mean, in Japan, they revere Chinese food.
Of course.
You know, and here, you know, and the Chinese are terrible marketers, to be blunt. I mean, we have our own huge market. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, you know, Chinese, they're terrible marketers. It's like, you know, we're very frugal sometimes, so we're always looking for, you know, like, if you're selling your lobster for $9.95, I guess I could go $8.95. You know,
our marketing is posted on our door: buy something or get out.
You're racing to the bottom, and then you got to cut corners and stuff, right? And that's not who we are.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, look at you. You excel in your profession. Our friends, the people you've interviewed, they excel in theirs. Well, why not us in this field, right? So absolutely. I think there's a lot to be done there still.
Speaking about excelling, many people say, you know, oh, I will start to do what I love after I've saved some money, after I've had kids, after I establish myself, after I'm married, after I pursue, you know, after that, I'll pursue some hobbies more seriously. Maybe I'll travel, maybe I'll learn some art or some music, but you actually did it. Did you have this mentality as well while you were closing the chapter as a successful Wall Street trader and taking flight as a restaurateur?
I'm not a quitter. You know, I believe in this a model that, you know, Abe Lincoln, you can't fail unless you quit. Right. So I don't like to quit. But sometimes, you know, like with the Roosevelt Steakhouse out in Shanghai, I mean, when the trade tariffs came in and I had my wine business there, I represented like 40 U.S. wineries. Yeah. And, you know, when the tariffs go over the 100%, I mean, you can't survive. So, you know, obviously sometimes stuff like that happens, you got to quit. Yeah. And you got to like, okay, I had an opportunity, because I was doing well in Shanghai with the steakhouse and wine business. And then I always loved the Bay Area because this is where this is home. And so for me, this opportunity happened, and then you kind of pour all your energy into it. And it's been a hell of a struggle to get it to where it is here. I mean, we ran out of money. It was too big a project. You know, there's obstacles. Like you were asking me a question earlier, like, did you learn anything? Man, sometimes I felt like I didn't learn enough, you know. But you learn more from your failures. And sometimes you got, I don't like to, again, quit, but sometimes you got to learn from those experiences and then pivot. Obviously, the Chinese, you know, I believe in this model. If you love what you do, then you do what you love. You know, you'll be better at it. You'll be happy. Work doesn't feel like work if you're good at it.
Never work a day in your life if you're doing something you love.
Yeah, and so, you know, sure, you know, when I actually put down my apron and knives and, you know, maybe write a book or paint a picture. I used to be a pretty good artist. Haven't touched a paintbrush in a long time, but I love doing stuff like that. You know, when your mind is in a different place, then you can do that. Right now, I'm still believing that, you know, I'm in my golden years, not the sunset years. And it's not about fame. It's just about getting more stuff done. You know, I think we have a lot of legs with this concept, China Live, and it's evolving. It's a living platform. It's called China Live because it's not a media company. People say, oh, you open a media company. I said, no, it's not a media company. It's a living platform, meaning things change. You know, when you asked me a question earlier about what things can you evolve with, well, China's huge, so there's so much to discover, right?
Sure,
and food is interpretive. All great cuisine is interpretive, right? So if I taste something somewhere, and I've done this a million times. Wow, man, that's a great. In fact, I was in Paris recently. I took a little break finally after 2 years. You know, at a restaurant, and they had these corn ribs. It was just like a cob of corn. They cut it into into long, quarters, and then they grilled it and put like a little French sauce aioli kind of thing on there. It was delicious. And I'm like, you know. Because I used to do the shaved corn with and it's a lot of work, shaved corn. I said, you know what, that's easy prep.
Yeah.
And we make a great XO sauce from scratch here, with ham yu and scallops and dry shrimp and all that, and Virginia ham.
I'm getting hungry.
And it's great. It's one of the best XO sauce. So I said, I'm gonna make a little tomato, roux and with a little soy, and reduce it, and then grill corn with a little bit. It's okay to use butter a little bit, and then brush the XO sauce with the roux on there. And I just put it's going to be on the menu on Tuesday. So there's something that you said it's not even Chinese. I was in a French restaurant, and I did some research, and it's become like a mini rage, this corn riblet. So on Tuesday, we'll have XO corn riblet on the menu, and we all tried it, and everybody says, oh my God, it's really great. So those are the fun things you do. Now, is that traditionally Chinese? Why not? It's not traditional. It's
becoming.
Right? Yeah. But, like, Western restaurants were grilling lettuces for a long time in the restaurants. Sure. And, remember charred lettuces. Sure. I said, why not charred Chinese broccoli? Everybody has broccoli with oyster sauce on it, like every dim sum restaurant in town, right? And just in Hong Kong, they just dunk it right out of the bottle.
Whole toast, garlic, the whole thing, right?
So I said, let's shave really fresh gailan and brush it with a nice seasoned oil and grill it. We have most Chinese restaurants on grills. Well, obviously we have every single piece of equipment known to man. Yep. And we grill it, the leaves get nice and charred, and then we toss some oyster mushrooms on there instead of oyster sauce and sprinkle with some toasted sesame. We sell hundreds of orders of that a week, and people are like, well, one Yelper said, and they burned my gailan. I'm like, dude, it says charred grilled Chinese broccoli. Hello. Okay, so 1 out of 1,000 didn't get it, but most people are like, man, that is delicious because it's smoky, sweet, and it's fresh vegetables. A better way to eat it.
Very rustic.
Well, why not? Yeah, absolutely. So is that Chinese? Yeah, it's my Chinese.
Yeah, and if it's
around, not fusion,
if it's around years from now,
fusion
then it's
is a bad word, but good fusion is good. But we don't really do fusion, so that's cooking with some integrity, understanding the ingredient. Sure. We had our own farm in Petaluma before the pandemic. Man, that was a lot of hard work. And then we lost all the. Nobody wants to work on a farm, let alone even a restaurant these days. But 6 o'clock in the morning, my wife up there in Petaluma, and cutting cellulose, and my Latino farmer guy says, boss, you cut another water line. Like, oh man, it's dark out, man. Give me a break. Anyways, I respect the people who do that stuff, and but when I brought that stuff in, people are like, man, that vegetable is alive. Yeah, it's like living, right?
Came from the agrarian life.
Yeah, and so it's not Chinese food is so expensive, and there's so much we could do.
Sure,
I think it's infinite.
But talking about the dynamic between being a chef and a businessman on Wall Street, to most people as an outsider's lens, seems quite unrelated. What was the feeling like as you were winding down your career on Wall Street and getting ready to ramp up as a restaurateur and a chef? Was the grass greener on the restaurateur side? And you said, "Hey, man, I want to be an artist now." And how did that transition take place?
I got the idea from Chengdu, and then I made my bamboo-shaped cup. And this is a better way to drink tea. Yeah. Like if you're at your office and you want loose tea, I'm not here promoting this, but my mouth's getting thirsty.
Oh yeah, no. That's
going from one industry to another is tough. But I realized I did pretty well on Wall Street. It was like, the big swing dick days in the 80s. Yeah. I was a corporate vice president and managing director.
Yeah.
Big Wall Street firms. Mm-hmm. And in the recession of 1990, where, Tokyo crashed in 89, and Taiwan crashed in about the same time. Yep, Hong Kong and we had a beer market here. I didn't see myself enjoying that process anymore. It was very creative. I mentioned that earlier. And so for me, I just said, I want to do something like we said, not retired, to do, go climb Mount, you're not going to retire and climb Mount Himalaya or whatever, right?
Everest.
You got to be professional to do that. But I was young enough to say, you know what? I worked in restaurants all my life. I worked for Cecilia Chang, the legendary restaurateur and Mandarin. Yeah. She passed away last year, God bless her. Mm-hmm. So, and for me, that energy, that creative energy is where you want to express yourself. And so that was 1995. I opened Bidon, but it took me 4 years to open that restaurant. That was my first restaurant. Wow. And since then, I've had 16 restaurants, and we're actually in the expansion mode again.
Right.
And so, is it tough? Yeah, it's tough. But if you gravitate towards, again, what you enjoy, like your question earlier, why wait? Exactly. Go do it. I mean, look, I don't disparage people who have to do some job because they put food on the table for their family and, kids at college and all that. Honorable, being a teacher, you don't get paid a lot of money, but I mean, the effects that you have on the next generation is pretty great. So I think, teachers should absolutely be paid a lot more money because I remember my greatest teachers, the moment that you learn something, it's really one of the best reasons for being alive.
Oh, yeah. Right? Revelations.
Yeah. So I think, it's tough and we're always learning, I mean, every day I'm learning stuff, and you stop learning, you stop living.
Absolutely. So speaking of learning, break down. Imagine we have a 10-year-old kid here who's about to go into middle school, and break down for this middle school kid, what is a pricing, revenue management, internet mobile company such as e-hawk.com, and why did you create it?
Wow. I was in Shanghai and opened my first restaurant there called Shukuan Bistro in Xintiandi. And Mark Su used to hang out there.
That's right.
He was my first customer. He brought in 30 people
and
pay for everybody.
Interviewing him on this series as well in Shanghai in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. Well, tell him, say hello to Mark.
Hey, Mark. What's up, Mark?
So Mark's one of the great guys, but a lot of people are like, everybody was on their cell phones, first of all, so landlines were very sparse. And everybody wanted a discount. They were very entitled. Like, people come into my restaurant after the day and like, hey, can I get a discount? So like, what, next thing you come in? He goes, no, I want a discount now. I said, after you ate? So I'll be saying some dessert. No, I want a discount. I'm not coming back. I'm like, oh, what kind of thing is that? Everybody's like bartering there, right?
Right.
And
contract is signed.
And Shanghai being a very international city, the Chinese eat like at 5:30, 6, okay, and they're done. Like, Spanish don't come in until 10 o'clock, 11 when you're about ready to close.
After siesta.
And so you have all these weird things going on, and mobile culture was just getting going. There was no iPhone apps store or anything like that. And so I said, you know what? There's a dynamic here. There's a need, right? People need to find deals, rate restaurants. I mean, the guys who own Dianping, he started out, the founder came to my restaurant to sell me a copy of the Zagab book. I'm like, you're going to try and sell that for $5.95 in China? I don't think anybody's going to buy this, man. Because I'll put you in there for free. I said, put me in there for free. But he evolved it to Yelp and to now, this dynamic. So everything evolves, and now he's like mega whatever, okay?
Oh, yeah.
But Iha was about dynamic pricing, variable pricing for restaurants. And it is still very relevant today. Nobody's really truly done it for independent restaurants.
That's right.
Like, for instance, on a Monday, and you're, say, out in Walnut Creek or some other place you're not familiar, on your phone, you should be able to now search for the best deal. And it's like all the hotel, .com, the TripAdvisors.
Exactly. I was going to say that.
They're all alive.
The travel algorithms,
Yes. And if you can match up that for the inventory because it's called perishable inventory. If you don't eat in my restaurant today, you may not be here tomorrow to eat it, and that business is a loss. So you got to, and you have fixed costs in this business. So you'll be able to drive business to you based on a revenue, variable pricing revenue model. It's cost per acquisition model. So it's not an ad model, right? You can certainly do ads if you get enough traffic, right? But if you can have the restaurant, if I have a platform that allows a restaurant to drive traffic to you based on the terms that you want to determine, and the deeper the discount, the less I get, because it's easier for you to get more customers. If you give 10%, I want to get paid more to driving that traffic. If you give 30%, I'll take less because that's a lot more attractive offer, and people go to you more. So it allows restaurants to manage their capacity daily. And that was Iha, and we were early. We were very early. We had 47 employees. We had a call center. We had developers, testers.
Wow.
And in the first 6 months, Iha means Electronic Hospitality Arts.
Okay.
Yeah, my brother worked for Electronic Arts. He was the CEO for a little while. But anyways, gaming company.
Grew up in River Shores.
And Jerry Yang was a friend of mine I haven't seen him in a while, but he had Yahoo. And I said, hey, Yahoo. That ad is so funny with the boat. They fell in the water and all that stuff. And you're like, Yahoo. And so one day I'm trying to come up with a name for my company. I was watching Dukes of Hazzard, and they're like going, Yeehaw. And I'm like,
that's right.
Iha, that's like Yahoo. And so Iha is instead of like Yao Ming actually had a restaurant called YEEHA in Shanghai Steakhouse.
Right.
And he's a good buddy.
His winery as well.
A good buddy, but I know him well.
Sure.
He's been to my place many times. And he was actually a member of these cigar loggers. He's not a cigar smoker, but he's a great guy. Anyways, so I started this company called EHI, Restaurant Hospitality Arts. And so that went really, in the first 6 months, I had 500,000 users, opt-in users, and we actually had revenues. And we're doing great. And then about April of 2008 happened when the Olympics were about to happen in Beijing.
Right. That's right.
And we had a internet service provider, ISP license, and ICP license, content. These are tough licenses to get from the government.
Yes.
Because you're able to distribute.
To this day.
Yeah, well, you could reach a lot of people through their cell phones, right? Because through that license, the network. And through the mobile carriers like China Mobile, China Unicom. And they shut all my gateways down. They're like, one day my friend was using it, he was like booking, it was by text, believe it or not, it was by code because there's no apps, right? Yeah. But you could like find restaurant, time, date, how many people, what discount, and so forth. And it was clumsy, but it was, tools are much better and makes everything so much easier. But back then because I know the business side of restaurants, what drives their traffic, how that works. So my algorithms was the business process knowledge that I have. I still have that. I'm trying to actually work with a couple of companies here, my POS provider, my reservation system, to have them understand this link up. They still haven't figured it out yet. I got the secret sauce. But anyways, they shut us down. We didn't, I called everybody I knew to try, and they're showing like, this is national security.
Right.
And then September happened, and I'm like, okay, the handicap Olympics happened in Shanghai. Remember the following normal Olympics had a handicap Olympics in Shanghai. Sure. So they said, we got to wait till the handicap Olympics are over. By then it was October, right? And guess what happened?
Offline for months. Yeah.
October 2008, what happened? The world blew up. Yeah. The Great Recession happened. Banks went under. Yep. Nobody was doing anything, right? Yep. And so I had to start to cut the burn rate and let people go. And then finally, I try to revive it here. I just don't have the same resources. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, is that a failure? Like your question earlier? I don't want to give up on it. I still haven't given up on it because I think there are platforms now and link ups with existing companies that they understood how the stuff really works. Just call it secret sauce. There's a little bit more than that. There's a built-in loyalty program. There's a virtual currency component and all that. That's very fluid and very intuitive, I should say. The best things are intuitive, right?
Yep.
And so you asked me that, brought back a lot of memories. But that's something I was really very proud of. It's probably one of the smartest pure business models I had.
Yeah.
And I still think there's a tremendous future with it because independent restaurants like $1 billion business, $1 trillion business.
Sure.
Right? It's
Without
huge.
a doubt.
I think it's 700-800 billion.
Speaking of revenues pouring back into the restaurant industry, now that people are able to leave the isolation of their couches behind, as well as their pandemic diets, have you seen that the eating habits and the trends have changed post-pandemic of the customers?
Well, I think this past summer, people were so,
Amped up.
They went out there and went nuts. I mean, I heard in New York, people were drinking 6 cocktails, just pounding them. Yep. That's died down a little bit. It happened a little bit here. People were just so cooped up, they want to go out and just like scream,
Yes.
I get it. I want to do the same, right?
Absolutely.
I think people have a lot of disposable income. Certainly all the stimulus money, piled up, and the lower income people, and then people who on the higher income scale could work from home.
Yep.
And they had nowhere to spend the money.
Right.
So all of a sudden, like their bank accounts pretty swelling up, and stock market's all-time high. I think it hit an all-time high maybe today. And so like people are feeling rich.
Yeah.
Houses are going up every year. Like, well, hell, I gotta go spend some money. So we're seeing it now, or our sales are increasing 15% a month.
That's wonderful.
And we can't handle even the demand that we have.
Yeah.
And we're probably the highest grossing restaurant in the Bay Area. We're 63rd highest grossing independent restaurant in America pre-COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in terms of the actual eating habits, like some people went healthy, others went down a deep, dark hole.
Hey, man.
When you see people now coming post-pandemic, have they changed their ordering habits?
I think some people, because they were cooking at home and there was a lot of these meal kits that were supposed to be healthy.
Oh, yeah.
But, if you ask me, America's going to get skinnier, I doubt it. But I think people are being a little bit more, because they maybe cook a little bit more at home. They understand the ingredients. So I think ingredients and healthfulness is very important.
Yeah.
I also think dining habits when you come out. I haven't put all my social distancing away because all the tables downstairs are still 6 feet apart. Before that, everybody was jammed. It was like a zoo in here.
Yeah, you could sit with like family style with strangers.
There's not really any more family style seating. And so I think people, still lingering. This is, it's been around. It wasn't like a 3-month flu thing. It's almost 2 years. Yeah. And behaviors has somewhat, is ingrained a bit. And I'm not sure, other cities aside, I'm not sure necessarily people want to sit next to a bunch of strangers screaming and yelling and, going, I don't know who those people are, even though everybody's supposed to be vaccinated and to be able to come in also wearing masks. So I think that is something that we're still very conscious of. Ordering wise, God help, there's about 25, according to Open Table CEO, about 25% of all restaurants in the Bay Area are permanently closed.
Yeah.
So it's a smaller pie, and the employee pool is probably shrunk by 40%.
That's right.
All right. So you have many restaurants that want to reopen that can't because you can't get the staff.
You can't train enough people fast enough.
When you lay off your people for 2 years, they're not going to hang around. They probably would move to another state, doing another industry.
Sure.
And so now you got, less competition, but you have different set of problems. Inflation, there's food inflation for sure. The logistics chain's a mess. I can't get stuff ordered, like even jars for my sauces, because there is. They don't have it. It's like, get it to you in February. Like, that's going to help my holiday season.
Wow, okay.
So you got a lot of issues right now. And right now, we're kind of like under this euphoria of, again, this money in the system, the Fed, the government's been pumping money into the economy.
Sure.
But inflation, in my opinion, is definitely here.
Yep.
I'm paying my people more than ever because you have to.
Yeah.
You have to take care of people. We were already doing that, but people in our business have to be paid more.
Sure.
From servers to busboys to dishwashers to line cooks to everybody, because man, they're the only ones out there in front of a bunch of strangers every day. They're the frontline workers. I mean, they're wearing masks, people are like angry.
You can't do that work at home.
I don't wear a mask. Okay, well, I'm not your psychologist. I'm not the police, man. I'm just trying to do my job. Right. So I think even if that goes away, it's still a tough business. And I think a lot of people just got tired of it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. So the world champion DJ Kubert once said that he sees DJing like baseball. So if he's able to encourage more fathers and sons and families, et cetera, to take on DJing as a hobby, the entire industry and the audience base grows at the same time. Are there any George Chen recipes that our audiences watching this podcast and listening in can try at home that you feel would do the same for the culinary industry?
During the pandemic, my wife and I, we're all sheltered in place, right?
Sure.
And we weren't even able to do any dining here except to go. And so we did some videos at home on an iPhone and a pillow, in our own kitchen. And I showed people how to use a wok.
Nice.
How to make pasta stickers, not just mine. You can fold those, I showed them how to do that. But I see you buy frozen ones from Costco and you're like, what do I do these things? I have friends who are very smart guys, like hedge fund guys. They're like, what do I do with this bag of frozen pasta stickers? I'm like, what are we usually doing? I go, I try to fry them up and it ain't working. I'm like, a lot of people boil them and they try to then fry them. I show them how to do it in one pot, like the traditional way. In the cast iron pot, it's like you cover it, the water's gone, the bottoms are crispy. But
there you
go. Ancient Chinese secret.
Do you sprinkle the cornstarch to give it the Japanese foot on the edge?
We do the most, but you don't have to do that at home. We do it at 8 tables and big old, twill fan. Yeah. And you see pictures online for that.
Of course.
But secret recipes, I think understanding flavors like that book, Salt, Acid, or whatever, I think you have to understand some basic fundamentals in Chinese cooking. There's a Chinese merit pot, like ginger, scallion, onions, are like marriage in heaven, right, for Chinese food. And you have to bring those flavors together.
Right.
And then as a base, you don't just throw it in and with everything else and think that's going to magically happen. It's called Shang, right? Understand how a wok, or get a good carbon steel wok. We season our own woks and sell them here.
Nice.
And there's some fundamentals. And then everybody in this country should have a wok at home.
Yeah.
Like, because this is one of the most universal, the carbon steel wok works, you never even have to wash it, you just wipe it down, right? And so there's the things that I think people should understand. It starts from some fundamentals. I mean, I like to go, hey, man, I've got a molecular recipe for pasta, because, you do a puff this and a puff that, and here comes the magic pot. I mean, get back to fundamentals, understand how food comes together, balance flavors, acid, salts, your sugars, Chinese flavors. Every great cuisine is about balance, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so understand those things, understand the Chinese pantry.
Yeah. And
you could cook Chinese food, and from there you start to really appreciate the cuisine a lot better. It's not like there's unfortunately what most people perceive Chinese food to be.
Sure. So you beat me to my last question, actually, which I'm happy you did. I was saying, as an artist, say for a visual artist, sketching with accuracy and realism is a good foundation. For musicians, it might be scales and playing in tune. They're both equally important. So for somebody who's been cooking for decades like yourself, what are the fundamentals that you still feel are necessary for you to maintain and improve your skill set?
Well, keep an open mind. I mentioned earlier about the stages of becoming a chef. Knife skills, ability to move around the kitchen, understand what's going on, so you don't get hot oil on somebody, and you got sharp knives.
Right.
Having taste memory, and then being creative. Right.
Yep.
For me, it's keeping an open mind and always able to see things. There's nothing like it's. I've seen a lot of stuff and I've been around, right? But I think. For any cook, whether you're a home cook or you're a professional cook, keep an open mind and explore things. I always tell my chefs, when you cook something at home, I always have a bunch of plastic spoons around, because taste it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you put a weird combination together and it don't taste good,
you're spraying and praying.
Maybe you ought to try something else. But put it together and taste it. I mean. There's no hard rules about, red wine with steak and white wine with, whatever, fish. Some of the craziest ideas, they're putting chili crisp on ice cream. That's a little extreme, right? Sure. Unless it's my chili crisp. But it's good. I think open mind, explore is the wonder, right? I mean, it's opening up all our senses.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that being said, George Chen, thank you so much for being on Upgrade Me. You are a legend in the culinary industry with a tale and a backstory of business. You are somebody who has fortified your career based on actual skill and know-how. I appreciate the Type A personality. You're respected in the streets as well as in the high rises. And so thank you for being you, and thank you for being on this podcast.
I appreciate being here and being part of Upgrade Me.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And if it's all right, we'd love to join you in the kitchen and have a look around and see what's under the hood.
Absolutely. Feel free to roam around. We're quite busy today, as you know. But like my number two rule, be careful where you get around. But
sure.
I think, you got about half an hour before it gets really nuts.
Perfect.
Okay. And see you at dinner tonight, right? You guys you're gonna have a meal here.
Absolutely.
Great.
Looking forward to it.
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks.